Hey there, and welcome to episode 2 of my tutorial series for Going Medieval. I'm Icon, and we will today discover what we need to do to keep our people alive and start researching because these things are pretty much intertwined. Also, I've taken the liberty to finish those buildings between these two episodes. There was not much going on there, just some wood chopping and some hay gathering, nothing new. So let's start out with the needs and desires of our people. So we're going to click on one of them people here. Let's take Mehenilda, sorry, and let's check out these tabs first. So, biography does not tell us anything new here. The age might be the most interesting information here. Also, the religious alignment. The deeper it is going into one direction, the more often they need to do their spiritual activities. Inventory is a very important tab. We can see here what people carry in their hands, what they wear on their head, on the chest, and on the armor slot. This is a clothing slot, and this is a armor slot. Very important up here to begin with. The other stats will grow important later, but right now, very important is the temperature radius here. So you can see, according to the clothing Mehenilda is wearing, she's fine with this temperature range here. Next tab is our skill tab. There's nothing really new in there. We created those characters an episode ago. They will gain higher levels the more they do these things. Attributes here is a very nice stats for nerds category where you can see everything which is influencing the activities of your character. Combat, work, and general things. I personally like to know how quickly people move at times, or if you want to know anything else, this is where you find answers to questions of how quickly does he harvest and so on and so forth. These numbers are all directly correlating to your skills, to your traits, and all these things. So this is basically what you get when you calculate all the perks and stats of your character together. So over here we see the needs of our people. That's where things get interesting. So food and sleep are pretty self-explanatory. Religious activities is how happy they are with their ability to do religious activities, and all these bars have to be read like this. You see those tiny little lines in there. These are thresholds between really bad, mediocre, good, and so on and so forth. So as we see here, Mehenilda is very, very unhappy due to the fact that religious activities are just not possible here. Alcohol requirement, yes, in this game, people require alcohol to live, well, to be happy. No alcohol, no happiness. That's how medieval life works here. And also entertainment activities. Well, these three numbers together influence the moods. The lower the moods, the worse. If you ever get to the rebellious state, which is below 15%, your people will stop behaving according to their commands. They stop to you won't be able to command them at all. And if they drop at 0%, I think they even leave your settlement. I've never came that far down, but well, nothing good will happen from that point on. Here we see the things that influence the mood of our people, positive or negatively. So, well, deprived of entertainment and religious activities give us debuffs. Initial optimism and these things are timed effects, which you can see in the pop. Pretty self-explanatory things. Over here, we see the health tab, and then we're done with the roundabout here. So, hit points, well, goes to 0, you're dead. Blood goes to 0, you're dead. Consciousness, well, tiredness in general. And pain, well, pain directly influences your consciousness. Stomach is how well your person is. So if this drops to 0, they have to vomit. So that's that. Down here we see the other options we got. So a little bit of a quick readout of all these things. And you can also draft your characters here, which is what you will need to command them directly. Attack, goes without saying. Banish, well, you get the idea. And whether they should attack or stay put or flee when they encounter an enemy. So I personally am a big fan of aggressive settings, but since we will cover combat later, I'll leave it like that for now. So that's how your people work, and this already showed us that we need religious activities, like for real. Remember when I was talking about the Oak Brethren and the Restitutionists? Well, the thing here is that you can build a shrine for both beliefs, and we will do that because in this colony, or settlement I should rather say, we have one stout believer of the Restitutionism, and Mehnilda swings exactly the other way. So we're going to do that first. Pretty easy thing. We just need to chop some wood because we're chronically out of wood, and especially in the early game, you never have the amount of wood that you want to have. And we're just going to put these shrines outside. Later on, I like to build a chapel or something like that, but to make things work quickly, I really like to put these shrines just outside at Godot. So, to avoid the further boredom of our people, a backgammon table is another thing we can do. And I thought we'd put that backgammon table into this chamber here. So another thing, we have our rooms ready. So we can now pick the sleeping spot and relocate them. At least since the newest version we can. So click that thing, click relocate, press R to rotate, and then we're going to relocate all these beds into the new rooms so that everybody has his own bedroom furthermore. Alright, now Lionel goes over there and he's objectifying the sleeping spot here. RimWorld players will find this all very familiar, but I'm quite happy that I've got these opportunities. And now you see we are creating bedrooms. And the whole thing with rooms like that is... I don't know if I can have the readout here. Specialized rooms give bonuses to the purpose of that room. So somebody will be happier sleeping in a bedroom than sleeping in a forge, for example. This is how the game handles these things. Okay, let's just wait until these shrines are completely built, and let's talk about science in between, in the time in between. But I want to make sure that I got enough wood here. Alright, so we built that science table in the last episode. Science goes over here in the research tab, and here we see our science tree. That's all the stuff we can science right now. Goes from left to right. The dependencies are marked by these arrows. Here's the interesting thing. Research is stored in chronicles, textbooks, and theses, I guess. So, chronicles are the simplest science books, and this is higher tiered stuff. We can only write chronicles at the basic research table that we've built in the last episode. Every technology has a certain cost of textbooks, so agriculture and these things cost all chronicles. The technologies later down the road will then cost also textbooks and so on and so forth. I guess you get the idea. Whenever we learn a technology, here for example architecture, which will unlock wooden beams. Remember last episode when I wasn't able to build the roof as I wanted to? Beams are the solution to that problem. So when we unlock that technology, we've used 15 of our 25 research books to unlock the technology. Now, here's the cool thing. These 15 books now store that technology. Should we lose these 15 books, we will also lose the technology. So your research table is not producing research points directly. Instead, you're producing books, which you will fill with technology. So production of these goes just like we had it with the cooking spot. And this is how production in this game generally works. We click the chronicle here. I tell the game now that I want to produce chronicles until I have a certain amount, because I don't want my researchers to have a 24/7 textbook production. And now we set them up to a threshold of, let's say, 30. So this also only counts the unused chronicles. So once you use them, the counter here will drop accordingly. Pretty useful. So this leads to two things. First off, you will need to produce more and more textbooks the longer the game goes, and also you will need to protect your knowledge at some point, because destroyed knowledge is bad. Another thing goes in the same moment. Here's a problem for us. Our pile decomposes in that storage here. That's because everything which is lying on a unfloored ground decomposes still. Decomposition is also sped up by having no roof, but this ain't enough at this point. So we have to floor that room. Not only this room, but basically all these rooms. I just didn't want to put that up in the first episode. So flooring is really, really easy, and the main reason why I didn't want to bring that up in the first episode was because resources were such a problem there. So we now can select the flooring here. There's wooden flooring and wicker flooring. Wicker flooring is exactly good for the purpose here, because it is not really good in any way, but it is cheap. And right now we want a cheap solution. And sticks are a side product of tree chopping. So we already have 176 sticks. So we take that wicker floor and drag and drop that on the ground. And here we go. Wonderful. So let's release that and wait. So the first science here wasn't too spectacular. Once we have enough books, we will go for the next really important technology, and that's agriculture. Agriculture will allow us to plant our own food, and at this point, this is a real lifesaver. So, to produce more research, we have several options how we can do this. So we can now either look for our intellectual person, that was Lionel, select him and right-click this research bench, and then you can prioritize the production there. And when you do that, Lionel will go over there and instantaneously prioritize writing on that table. He'll only do that until one book is done, and then he'll look for another job. But yeah, well, it is at least a way to get a job directly done. This works, by the way, for pretty much everything in the game which you want to or could force the people to. But since this is not really a permanent solution, let's get into the jobs menu. I already mentioned that in the first episode, and this is where we can configure how our people prioritize their work. The prioritization is pretty easy. It goes always from left to right. So the program will check first how high is the priority of this job, and then down the way here. So whenever Baldwin now looks around, he's going to pick up first the next best tending job, then the next best convalescence job, that's well, lying down and healing their wounds, and so on and so forth. So since I want now the research done quicker, I'm going over here to research and left click it to decrease the number, and right click increases the number. So Lionel will now prioritize the research work over everything else, because all these things have a lower number. So this is going to be the first thing he's going to do, and then he's, as soon as this job is satisfied, he's going to start to look for jobs with a 3 priority. That's basically how this works. So let's see. I don't want Lionel to abandon construction jobs though, for the sake of research alone. So we're going to put construction on a priority of 1. Same goes for carpentry jobs, that's crafting jobs. And now Lionel will always try to go for construction work first, then for carpentry, and then if these aren't pressing matters, research, and so on and so forth. This is a very, very versatile and powerful tool, and use it to spread work. accordingly. We're going to go into this menu a lot more in the future episodes, so we're going to explore the functionalities of that thoroughly. So in the meantime, the wicker flooring has been done, and now when you click that, none of these items are decomposing anymore. That's good. So we got that settled down, and now we're just waiting for the research textbooks to be done. Linet is working and producing the textbooks we need. So another thing that I want to do now is get a look-see into our warehouse, and you see these items with a white circle around them here. These are all equipment items. So you might have noticed that all our people don't wield or wear anything. Let's change that. If we would be attacked, none of them would be able to defend themselves. Baldwin is taking a drink here, so let's pause the game. And, well, now let's pause the game. So let's check out the options. We got one shield, one short sword, one spear, and two bows. One short bow and one long bow. So the items you have here are preset by the background we've selected in the first episode. So let's check out our best marksman. That's either Mehenilda or Baldwin, and Linet was pretty okay with melee. So we're going to put the bows in the hands of Baldwin and Mehenilda. So let's equip that longbow. And as you see here, a longbow requires marksmanship of 10. Remember when I said bring those things? It's pretty useful. To equip something, right-click the item while the according settler is selected, and then pick the according command from the appearing drop-down menu there. So, last person is Linet, and since we only have one armor, I'm going to give him that. So equip that armor. And now we're going to equip that sword. And that buckler. Sadly, right now you can't queue any commands, so you always have to wait until the command is through and get a new one then. Our shrines have been completed, so Brethren, Restitutionist, well, get the idea. So our people are now, as we can see here, marked green all of a sudden. How's that? This is because their mood is above the maximum threshold here, and they're just very happy. When the color is green, your people are very happy. When the color turns red, your people are very unhappy. A neutral color depicts the thing you might think now. So, how about our research books? Well, Baldwin just needs to churn out one more, and then we can research agriculture. Of course, there are more and more interesting technologies down here, but the first and most important technology is always agriculture, because you will want to produce food as quick as possible, because, you know, winter is coming. So we unlock the agriculture technology. Now, with that, you see down here in the construction bar, there's these green science bottle icons, and these will show you what has been newly unlocked by your technologies. So we can now construct wooden beams, and over here in the zoning tool, we have access to the cabbage field. But don't let yourself get fooled. This is down here in the variants, all you need to set up some working agriculture. So, agriculture. Quickly said, you will just have to plant down these items, respect the according row time, and then have a harvest. It's that simple and yet so complicated. At the beginning, the really important things are put up some red currant shrubs, because they are very, very grateful and recurring candidates for agriculture. So we're going to put up a field like that. 4 on 4 is sufficient. And then with the other things, I'll do some cabbage. Flax is what you need for clothing production, some carrots. It's really hard to give you a general rule how to produce at first. Red currant is something, though, which I can stronger recommend because it has a double value. Red currant can be used as a food and as a basis for alcohol. And remember, when we checked out the needs of the people, alcohol is such a basic need in this game that red currant is your good friend, providing sustenance if necessary and a alcohol basis if you have enough food otherwise. So my personal approach always was to put up more fields than I actually need. I always aim for an overproduction of food. That's because of a simple reason. Nobody will be hurt if we have too much food, but if we have not enough food, stuff will be bad. So I've tried second time here, by the way, to set up a beet field, which doesn't work for our people. So beets and carrots need a higher botany skill. And in this settlement here, nobody has a botany skill above 10. So neither carrots nor beets can be really planted. Keep an eye out on that. So we're going to now delete those zones. Where was it? Here, deconstruct. Go. So this way you can remove the fields you don't want. And so we have a easy solution. We're just going to plant whatever we can plant. This in this scenario, that's cabbages and beets and red currants. So to make sure these jobs get done accordingly, I'm going to assign Mehanilda now to grow job on a high priority, harvesting on a high priority, and plant cutting on a high priority. So Baldwin, I'm going to put this on a less high priority for him, but field work is something I prioritize quite highly, always, because you never want to have your crops unattended. That's basically your survivability. So here we have our first trader. The traders are a new thing with a new update. So we can now check out what this person has. Pick your person with the best speechcraft to trade there and right click trader to barter with the person here. So the trading here is pretty simple. We have our people here and the trader here. So we can sell our stuff to the trader accordingly. So you see, whenever we click that, we generate wealth on the one side, and we can buy from the trader here at this point. So let's see, is there anything I want to sell at that point? We could actually sell some of those sticks. So hold down Control and left click the arrow to bring up a bigger portion. If you hold down Shift, you have a step of 100. So I want to buy that ale. So we're going to try to pick all that up. And now we're paying in sticks. There we go. Now we accept that. And now we have that ale. So since I don't want that ale to lie around there, I'm selecting Mehanilda, right click her, and tell her to prioritize hauling that stuff back home. Here we go. So I could have bought more stuff like that. If you want to trade, always only sell or try to sell only things that you don't need to survive from. I mean, pretty self-explanatory reasons. So our people are quite bad at what they do right now, therefore they're working rather slowly. But as you see, the level ups keep happening because they have a pretty high passion for that. So the gist of it is, don't worry too much about low skill levels at the beginning. Keep an eye out for those passions. They are way more important than the starting skill levels, except for smithing or carpentry and tailoring. That's because these are all crafts which will need you to produce things to actually skill those, to actually improve those skills. And item production is something you don't do nearly as often as field work, research, chopping trees, mining later on. There's just a really huge disparage between the frequency of crafting and doing the other jobs. That's why I would rather start with high crafting values than the other things. All right, so now during the next couple of days, these fields will get planted up, and as soon as we have the skills for that, I'm going to start planting carrots and such as well. Over here, we have also another source of food, and that's a deer. So we are going to put up now another production table, and that's the butchering table. I'm going to put the butchering table right now outside because I haven't set up a kitchen yet or anything. We're just going to do this accordingly. So hunting animals is a little bit of a pain in this game so far. I've found that so far the best way was to just send all your people at once and pray that everything works. Don't use the hunting job here, especially not with deers or something which needs multiple hits, because if you send somebody to hunt automatically via the job tab, what will happen is that one lonely archer goes outside there, shoots one arrow, the deer is in panic, and then it will run away. Your hunter will go after it, and at some point your hunter and the deer will be somewhere out there in the wilds, while your hunter has maybe hit one arrow, and that's being jolly regenerated by that deer. It really doesn't work. So instead, what we're going to do is we're going to put a big here square over these people, and now you see they're all marked. We're going to draft them now, pressing T, and now we have them under control. This is like a real-time strategy game. Right-clicking to moving the people, so we're allocating them now. You see this yellow circle is demarking the ranged attack maximum range there, and now we're moving our dudes really close to that deer, because paradoxically that deer doesn't mind us standing right next to him. He only really cares about being shot. So the best way to work this out was for me to send out it's a little bit shy, to send out a fighter, the person with the sword, to melee that thing. And now this is ideal. So the deer is now walking between the people, and now we tell our archers to shoot as well. And now, as you see, the deer, as it has the first hit, it's starting to run away, but now it has really almost no chance to escape from more people, and here we go. That's how you hunt deer. This is, well, it's not the only way, but it's for me the most feasible way. So after that's been done, we undraft our people, select them all again, and press T again. And now we have a deer carcass. So that deer carcass will not be processed unless you transform it into meat here. This is one job where I will configure a forever statement, because I want that job to process all corpses for forever from here on. So let's see. Our best cooking person is pretty much nobody. As you can see here, the brighter the little border around these numbers, the higher the skill. And if we look at cooking, well, we have a culinary rating of 7 on Lioned, and Lioned doesn't have too many jobs yet, so he's going to be our cook. So let's watch Lioned. Double clicking him, zoomed a little bit too hard in there, and now he's getting resources. He's cooking now, but you know what? I want Lioned to process that corpse. So right click that and prioritize production. What's going to happen now is he's grabbing that carcass and process it into meat. So these are your basic ways of getting food in there. Also, so far, the wolves out there are completely harmless. No, even better, they are way easier sources for food than deer, because a wolf does attack you when you attack him. It doesn't run away from you. It's those early access kinks, but I hope this will be fixed out in the coming versions. I don't mind too much about stuff working out like that right now, but I find it rather very comically. So now Lioned finished his butchering job. Now we have raw meat and leather and bones. So here's one or two words about food. Food is a little bit obscure as of now. It has a nutrition value, but I always have a hard time reading out how much nutrition a person actually needs. So you see, cabbage has a nutrition of 30, packaged meals have a nutrition of 95. The food Lionel is cooking here is also providing a certain amount of nutrition. Stew pile, well. And at the end of the day, I always struggled with making an exact readout about how much food my people actually need because, well, I guess here we would get a... Yeah, it is still pretty hard to discover, so here we have an appetite rating, but I never really got a good readout about how much food actually somebody really needs. So until this very day, I don't. So if you know, feel free to drop a comment down below, because this is also marking pretty much the end of this video. What I was trying to say with that is, since it's so hard to actually read out how much food you need, just overproduce jolly. Because as long as your people don't get overstressed by that work, it's going to be all okay. Also, since we now have traders, it's even better than before. We can now just sell those things. Oops, I didn't want to have barley there. So with that, we can just sell away these items if we overproduce food. It's not even bad in any way anymore. So, my dear friends, let's sum it up here. This was a very, very nice episode. I thank you all for watching. In the next episode, we're going to cover up other topics that are up ahead of us, like crafting and what kind of technologies are going to be important, building fortifications, combat, and so on and so forth. Leave a like on that video if you enjoyed, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel. Daily videos happening up there, so just turn on those notifications and you will stay tuned. See you guys next time. Bye bye.